Curiously Veg Radio is brought to you by Thrive Market. Thrive Market is absolutely wonderful because it's a revolutionary online marketplace with a mission to make healthy living easy and affordable for everyone. We use it ourselves. We love ordering from them and getting food delivered right to our door. They also have organic and GMO-free products and up to 50% off products every day. They also have free shipping. I mean, come on, you can't get better than that. Say if you're wanting, I don't know, Bragg's Nutritional Yeast to try out some nooch on your favorite little veggie dishes, you can get it from Thrive Market. And Thrive Market's members pay a low member fee of $59.95, and that's less than $5 a month, and currently offer free national shipping on orders of $49. Like I said, free shipping, can't beat it. So start your free month trial now. Yes, that's it, free month. You get a whole free month of getting whatever goodies you want delivered right to your door by going to curiouslyvegradio.com/Thrive Market and sign up and get that good stuff delivered to your door.
And Curiously Veg Radio is sponsored by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/CuriouslyVegRadio. Between working on all the sites we have and getting this magazine ready, I don't have too much time to read. But what I do have time to do is listen to How Not to Die, Discovery of Foods Scientifically Proven to Prevent and Reverse Disease, written by Michael Greger, MD. You can get that title and over 180,000 other titles for your Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Get your free audiobook download now at audibletrial.com/CuriouslyVegRadio.
You're listening to Curiously Veg Radio, WCVR, featuring the Vegan Renegade and the Geek.
So yeah, the zoo would make some zoo.
Look at you being
utopia.
smart and
I'm
stuff.
just super.
Well, I am the geek for a reason.
Yes.
Shut up.
Now I'll put you in my pocket so I can carry you with me everywhere I go.
Yay! I'm going on adventures.
Yay! You stay inside that bottle. Don't you get out of that bottle.
Don't
till
worry.
I need
If he
you.
does, he'll be in the corner going, why am I here? And
Well,
where's the cat?
I'm a genie in a bottle, baby. Better rub me the right way.
Oh, my
Right.
goodness.
Uh-huh.
We actually have a video. He got the chutzpah to go to a party. I got invited, so he goes without me, right? So he's texting me all night.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, he's texting me, and I'm going, why are you texting me? 'Cause I don't know. And they have pictures of the party, and all of the ones that Dave either stand in the corner or he's texting me.
There's one with me. I have a beer like this, and a phone. I used to be walking in the background. Everyone's like dancing and partying and talking. I'm like, dun, 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 dun.
You like to party hard, huh?
Yeah, by
You like
myself
to party
mostly.
hard.
Oh yeah, by myself mostly. Speaking of which, hey guys,
Hey guys,
welcome to episode 23 of Curiously Veg Radio. No effect on that one. Okay. So
you
Curiously-
have
Curiously
failed
Veg-
this. You have failed this podcast, man.
of Curiously Veg Radio.
There we go.
That's nice.
With you as always, your host Dave the Geek and the fantabulous.
Hope the Vegan Renegade. Ooh, I had a sound effect.
Nice.
And I know she forgot your notes, so it's a challenge.
Oh crap!
Could you explain to new people and returning and everything else, users, listeners, what we do, who we are, and what we're about?
Oh gosh, so much pressure.
Dun, 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 dun.
Everybody's looking at me. I don't know what we're doing. Where am I?
For those listening, that's not what we're about. But go ahead.
No, that's exactly what we're about. Yeah, well, Curiously Veg is a movement to bridge the gap between. Don't look at me that way. I was going good. So you did that. You totally got me off base. It's a movement to bridge the gap between vegans, vegetarians, and meat eaters alike to talk about how health and the animals and the planet is all intertwined, how we need to take care of it because we educate, not intimidate. Oh, yeah. I did pretty good.
You did. Oh yeah, it's very important.
Yeah.
I like the
You
audio.
want
She
to
gets
do
mad
you
at
want to
me.
do it all you?
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
And
There
today
you go.
is a super awesome episode.
Super duper.
Super awesome.
Duper, super.
It's so awesome. I'm getting hot. I have to take my sweater off.
It's always hot in here.
I know, right?
That's because you're in here.
Is there a reason everybody's taking their clothes off? Is I supposed to do that too? No?
It's because you're here.
Oh, okay.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's because you're here. There we go. Okay, I'm feeling better. So today we have the wonderful, magical, amazing. Don't look
You're magical?
She is magical.
I'm magical and amazing.
She is totally amazing. Jen Purich.
Yes, hello.
And you want to tell a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Who you is?
Who you
Who
do?
I am. Well, I'm Jen.
Jen,
So nice.
Jen,
Yeah,
Steve,
If I'm in trouble,
Steve,
I'm Jennifer.
Steve. No, go ahead.
Steve,
But
it's pretty
usually I'm not in trouble, so I'm Jen. Okay, I'm not sophisticated enough for a Jennifer, but Jen
Jen is-
works good. Yes.
I like
And,
Jen. It suits you. It's
It does. It's very good
you know,
sound,
Yeah, thanks.
It's a cute name. It works.
Thanks. Yeah, only 3 letters to remember. I can pretty much be successful in life. J-E-N.
That's why I call him Dave. He introduced himself
Which
as
is
Dave. Everybody else
cool.
calls him David.
Oh, right.
And it's weird for me.
Yeah, Dave.
So, yeah, Dave. It's Dave.
Dave.
Dave. And,
Steve.
and not Matthew, but Matt.
Matt. Jen.
And not Hope, but
Ho.
Ho.
So good to be here, Ho.
Or Hop.
Or Peiho, which is what everybody called me in high school because dyslexic and I
Oh.
wrote it backwards in Japanese and everybody caught it. And
Oh, that's funny.
yeah,
that's good.
it was funnier then. So
Funny, not funny.
tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am originally from California, and I moved here to Atlanta. I'm married to my most amazing wife, Iris, and I had, I'll go deep really from the beginning just so I can kind of explain what led me here to be a vegan and talk about veganism and spirituality. I was living a pretty normal life, which means that I was like really a mess. Like I was like the normal life, you know, I was a mess in my mind. I really had, my psyche was just really complicated, and I suffered a lot in my mind. And about 5 years ago, I had a total breakdown. Things just kind of came to a head in my mind, and I really decided that I was either going to not live like that anymore, or it was going to change. I was going to wake up. Something was going to change in my life. So I had this really incredible waking up experience where I had a total breakdown, and I ended up for many months just kind of checking out of reality and doing what I now know is called self-inquiry. So self-inquiry is basically just the ability to look at your mind, look at your thoughts, be aware of what's going on in your mind. And up until that point, I really didn't know that my thoughts weren't me. I didn't know I wasn't my thoughts. So my thoughts were really painful. So if I had a thought come into my mind, it was like, oh my God, that's me. When I started doing self-inquiry, I became able to have an objective relationship with my mind and began to see my thoughts for what they were, which is just sort of energetic patterns. So after I had this big wake up, and I was really my teachers during that time were the trees and the earth and the ground. I was really alone for the first time. I was just sort of emotionally detached from the whole world, but I had these amazing friends who were my trees, and they guided me through this awakening process. And when I came out of that, I was like, what happened to me? You know, I really had no like container or framework to describe what had happened to me. So I started to learn, and I started to meet people who had similar waking up experiences. And as I went further and further down that path, it eventually led me to Naropa University, where I got my master's degree in transpersonal eco-psychology. And as part of that program, in the second year, you write your thesis. And I ended up writing my thesis on the oppression of speciesism. So speciesism, you know, is basically treating one species different than another species, right? So it was through that process, and had already been a vegetarian for a long time, but I hadn't cut out the dairy and the cheese. You know, I had that big block.
The hardest people.
Right. That was the thing. I knew I could never get past that. And in my mind, that's what I would tell myself, right? So as I was doing the research for my thesis, and the oppression that was happening to animals, I was like, you know, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, oh my God, I can't live like that anymore. So that was my big vegan awakening, was through writing that thesis. And now I have graduated, and I am starting a doctorate program to get my PhD in transformative studies and consciousness studies at California Institute of Integral Studies in San Francisco. And so, yeah, that's kind of, now I'm just talking to people about spirituality and veganism and what that means to me and how it all comes together in my life.
So the point from going from the hectic mind to wanting to make that switch, what actually sparked that switch? Because either you have one side and the other side, but
Yeah.
what's that bridge that actually made that connection to make that?
I think I just knew that I couldn't live like that anymore. And I think what had happened is I had stumbled into the life that I'd always wanted. I had an amazing spouse. I had an amazing family. Everything was stable, but I couldn't get there. Like I didn't know how to live successfully and be in a healthy relationship. And so what I was doing was I knew I was going to ruin that relationship with my old behaviors. And I thought, oh my God, I'm literally about to ruin the best thing that has ever happened to me because I can't straighten out what's going on in my mind. I have all of this conditioning and all of these ideas and baggage and stories that I've been carrying my whole life. And I did not know how to let them go. So the waking up process for me was about learning how to let go of all these stories, about honoring my wholeness. I had been told my whole life that I was, broken, diagnosed with different things, that I had all kinds of things about me that needed to be fixed. And really, for me, the liberation from all that has been realizing that I'm already whole. Yeah. I'm already 100%. I don't need anything to be fixed. I'm learning to be myself now, know? So these last few years, and especially from now graduating from Naropa, has really been trying to articulate what happened to me. What was that road like? What was that bridge like that popped me over onto the other side into a conscious life? And then how do I articulate that to other people so that other people can do that too, you know? Because that's what we're hoping for is to... I personally am hoping for a society, a world, a culture where we know about our wholeness, where we know about our connection to animals, where we know about our connection to the planet, that we are affecting things, that we can participate with from the world, from taking things from that really sort of I'm a separate person to I am a person who is interconnected with the world. That's what we're trying to generate. That's what I'm trying to generate. So I'm trying to be a voice for people, a friend. I created a network called Friends in Presence, and we have people from all over the world who are having the same kind of waking up. And Friends in Presence isn't about like selling anything. It's not about like trying to get anybody to believe anything. It's literally like, oh my God, you're falling apart too. Oh, it's okay. It's totally okay that we're falling apart. That we can be friends together in this falling apart and support each other and learn to be ourselves again together. So Friends in Presence has been just a remarkable manifestation of my awakening.
And I have to say, I've been using your site.
Oh, good.
Because this year, I can completely understand what you're saying, because I think everybody's been there, and I think everybody has a different awakening time. For sure. And it goes in stages, and it's scary. Yeah. And veganism was a part of my awakening. We've been vegan for over 15 years, But the death of my mother, I think, is a new chapter, and I've had such a hell year trying to, I guess, pull myself back together. Because like you, that's what I always say, you're broken, you're wrong. You have all of these things conditioned in your head, plus you have societal norms conditioned to you, like eating meat is what you're supposed to do, buying things is what you're supposed to do, So you're programmed by what is not a part of the natural world. And I think it totally fucks you up.
For sure it does.
And then when I started, and I told him, so one thing too is when Matt started doing the tarot and I'm started to learn this stuff and I'm starting to ask myself questions, I got sick. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had like panic. I woke up like, I don't know if you read my Facebook, I woke up like, why do I have feet? Why do I feel, oh my God, I'm trapped in this body. Yeah. And I talked to a friend of mine, Tracy, and she's like, it's normal. You're going to get sick. Your muscles are going to hurt. You're going to feel like you're having panic attacks. And I think that when people start going through that, it scares them.
That's right.
So have you talked to anybody that's had that? And did you go through this too?
I did. And I think that's what, to me, Friends in Presence is all about, is supporting each other through that. A normal friend would want to fix you. If you came to me and you said, oh, I'm hurting and my mind is hurting and everything feels like it's totally falling apart. And, a regular friend may say, oh, what can I do to help you? Whatever. But a Friend in Presence says, oh yeah, you're falling apart. Me too. This sucks. This feels miserable. And it is the psyche, when you start to become conscious of it, is like it's like a wound that you have. And as you begin to do self-inquiry, you take the scab off and you realize it's a festering festering mess under there. And I think that's why a lot of people don't go forward through that, or they're, walking that labyrinth of the self back in and really looking at yourself, because it does get so much worse before it gets better. And so a lot of people aren't successful in that walking through, because there's nobody there to say, keep going, when you're hurting, you're going in the right direction, So for me, like, I want to be that person that's there holding your hand, not trying to fix you, not trying to give you anything, just being here for you and allowing you to fall apart, because in that falling apart, that's when you have the waking up.
Well, it's like Alfred, said to Batman, why do we fall down to pick ourselves back up?
And it's the same. It's the same thing with veganism. When people start going to plant-based, of course, your body gets sick because you're detoxing. And it doesn't matter. There's different reasons. There's ecological. There's for the animals. There's for health. And a lot of people do have the health thing. That started out with me because of my family history. Yeah. But it's kind of like a rabbit hole. And once you go down the rabbit hole, and it gets uncomfortable. And when you start learning about what you've been a part of, it's also a guilt. And I've had a lot of people say, I feel horrible about what I did. Yeah. And with us, we say, yes, you do. And use it to talk about, because now you have a better understanding. But I think
it's a frame of reference.
Yeah. So I think what you're doing with veganism and with that, it goes hand in hand, because to make change, which is what we need now, because this world is freaking crazy. We're disconnected. Yes. And nobody wants to be uncomfortable. Right. You don't want to be comfortable in your discomfort, I think.
Right. And probably I think a lot of the reason why we haven't had a lot of success moving forward into new ways of being is because we're so addicted to remaining comfortable. The whole world is about remaining comfortable, and wants to sell you cold medicine to make you feel better, wants to sell you a dating service so you have everything is about meeting your needs. And I think a lot of waking up is really becoming present in your discomfort.
Mm-hmm. Well, the path of least resistance is natural. It's been natural for evolution. That's part of how evolution works. The path of least resistance that keeps that organism sustaining, that moves it forward, and things that go against that path of resistance tend to end up dying off. So
that's right. It seems like you're going against nature even to take on the oppression of another being. I mean, that seems like it's very counterintuitive to the whole survival mechanism to then take on the oppression of other beings or the oppression of other people, and really, get in touch with that. It seems counterintuitive, but it truly, in my experience, is the way through to abiding in that interconnectivity in a really powerful way that's transformative for our culture. Ken Wilber says 10%. It's a 10% tipping point. All we need is 10% of people to wake up and live consciously, and that creates a whole shift in our culture and our society. And I'm interested in that. Yeah. I want to be. I'm part of this. We're all part of this, and that's really exciting to me to be part of the change.
I think one of the resistance that we see, and I know when you talk about veganism or plant-based or health, people want to justify their actions. For sure. Because nobody wants, this is our frame too, no one wants to be shamed. And when you make changes, there's always going to be a certain level of shame, because shame is just a part of us, and learning how to overcome it. When you read like Brene Brown, who is brilliant about shame, you start understanding about why it's a part of us and how to not let it overshadow. And I think right now we're too far into a shame-filled world to where we want to justify our comfort and our actions. Everything that's done is justified, instead of saying, it's the but. Yeah. Do you get that a lot? Okay, I get what you're saying, but.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think shame is a way to keep, shame is all about separation. If I'm shaming you, then what's required in my mind is to separate from you and put you on a different level, right? Mm-hmm. So if we're talking about conscious living and interconnectivity, then there's really not a lot of place for shaming, because I am you and you are me. So if I'm shaming you, I'm only ever shaming myself, Right. If I'm pointing a finger at you, I'm only ever pointing that finger right back at myself.
Someone else, you got 3 pointing back at you and a thumb pointing.
That's exactly right.
And we're seeing a lot of that in the vegan world. Mm-hmm. There is more. It seems like we should be a coercive community because we all want the same thing. We all want to in better lives, whether it's ourselves or the animals, the planet, or all three. I see more interfighting with us, and it has caused a big divide. Even in Atlanta, I know that you know this because we have, for those of you who don't know, we have this thing called inside the perimeter and outside the perimeter. The two, it's like oil and water. It's a complete, that we don't mix. And we've tried to, but even though we love the people, we all get along, it seems to be a divide, and there seems to be a lot of finger pointing, like, you're not doing enough, you're not leafletting, you're not doing this, why are you doing this, you're using this, you're friends with this person. And you're going, and after a while, you start shrinking back. I mean, this week I've had this, like, why am I even doing this stuff?
Well, that's traditional tribal mentality. Again, it goes back to our evolution, how we evolved. Even though you have your larger group, everyone makes their own and then wants to protect their little group, and that's the hardest thing of breaking down. Because once you're part of a big group anyway, when you're like an omnivore group or a larger group, going vegan, you're going to a smaller, or plant-based, you're going to a smaller tribe. And then it's natural to gravitate to the people who are like you to make your other tribe inside that. So you have the weird tribal mentality that's even harder to break, because that makes that even a closer, well-followed homeostasis, which you're talking about.
And shame and justification is easy to create those own cultures, I think.
For sure, yeah. And I think that if what we're moving from is sort of the modern civilization of enlightenment, rational thinking, being logical, being an individual, being a separate self, to what Joanna Macy calls the Great Turning, or into a new paradigm. If we're moving, then that shift is not so much about that old tribal mentality anymore. It's about a global interconnectivity, knowing that that my actions affect not just my group here, but they affect everyone. And that is one of the most powerful things about what I know about becoming conscious and aware of my own mind, is that my healing that I've experienced in my psyche is your healing, and it's your healing. Right. And what the healing that you're doing is healing me, and that we're all healing each other. So we're shifting from this. We're feeling, so if veganism means that I have to separate myself from other people, then that's not what I'm about. That's not what I want. I want it to bring me closer to people. Right. I want it to bring me even people who don't think like me. And so one of my practices is, so if somebody is giving me a lot of carnist, ideology, well, humans just are meant to eat meat, or, animals are meant to be eaten. One of my practices is to receive that story and honor it and say, I receive this, but where I meet you is not there. I meet you in the place where I don't think you want to act that way. I meet you in a place where I don't think you want to harm other animals, where you're a loving person, where your biophilia, your love of nature shows. So I try to meet people not where necessarily even where they're telling me, but where we connect with each other and we're the same. And that feels much more healthy.
Well, you see that with, like, through history, you have all the people who have been leaders, whether it be spiritual, whether it be through politics or social, like Martin Luther King or Gandhi and things like that. And of course we can go into each one and how their lives, but they all had that basic mentality of everyone affects everyone else, and that the world is all one and we all affect each other. So when it's recognizing that those people who see that are essentially world leaders in their area, and making that shift, you especially start seeing that people start following you and understanding where you're coming from. Since you were talking about
taking that a bit further, it shows that we're kind of separating from that idea, because we're resistant. We're looking at that too with our health, because even with ecology and animals and our health, we are looking at the pieces. And I know with what we go through when somebody's sick or has chronic illnesses or depression or things like that, you become that disease, and they want to treat the disease. And that's, I feel that's a good allegory for our culture, is we're trying to treat the diseases and we're not looking at the whole.
The holistic.
Right. And how we have to approach this instead of breaking it down and to little chunks of this disease is this disease is that, and trying to fix the little pieces instead of trying to heal the whole. Yeah. Because it's much harder, I think, when you do that, because you have to look inward. And you start understanding that your actions are part of that whole and not the symptom.
It requires a little bit of responsibility.
Right. So because you're feeding in this big problem that we're having, plus the big solutions. And if you start looking at it, but it's really terrifying, because when I talk to people about that, you see the glassy eyed, and a lot of them go, well, I don't want to know.
Yeah. I've heard that. I've had the hands over the ears. I just don't want to know.
Well, my what I do, well, I just eat a little meat, or I just use this, or I like this, or I want mine.
Well, it's like saying I just do a little heroin, just a little bit of heroin. What's wrong with a little bit of heroin? It's like you're still doing heroin.
But still, with that though, that's I think the problem with that is we're so. This goes with veganism too. We're so stuck on looking at somebody else and going, "You're doing this," and drug addiction is the same. My mother was a prescription drug addict, and it's very easy to point the finger instead of saying, "What is the bigger picture? What causes this?"
Right.
That's still symptomatic. Instead of looking at the whole problem and saying, "Okay, this is their life, and this is where they are and what they're doing." And I can understand that to a point. I think that's why a lot of people get irritated with veganism, because even with people who do eat meat and Dave's the same way, we're like, okay, I can understand where you're coming from. Here's my point of view.
Right.
And when you handle it like that, instead of, this is why I don't leaflet, because I don't want to shove this stuff in people's faces. I want to start a conversation, because shock is easy.
Well, I want to bring you to me to have the conversation, not me force myself on you in that sense.
It is helpful, leafleting and some of the shock videos and things. But I think after a while we get so stuck on it.
Yeah.
That it starts to get, that's all we focus on.
There's a place for that type of, those messages, those memes that are very shocking to the system. There's a place for it, but there's also a time when it becomes overindulgent and it becomes super toxic. And so I think once you get like Alan Watts, once you get the message, hang up the phone, so I don't go look at all those videos, or if I see something, it really, I can't look at it because it hurts me, but I get it. And so there's a place for those kinds of things. But I think the real goal is to continually keep opening ourselves up to people who, so one of my big sayings is love people beyond beliefs. So whatever somebody's coming at you with whatever belief system they're coming at you with, can you meet me here beyond what we believe? And let's look each other in the eyes and, hello, fellow human.
Yeah.
No matter what even if you're about to leave here and go eat a big juicy hamburger, hello, fellow human, and let's talk and meet each other here where we're the same. And I trust that kind of connecting is transformative, that I don't need to push anything on anybody, that I just need to share myself honestly and authentically, and that is changing the world.
So knowing that and your transformation, how did that affect you? What was your resistance? And when you realized what was going on, did you have those moments of, or did you go through that? And how did you kind of overcome those, I guess, the objections in your head to be quote unquote normal, to fit in with the people that have already drank the crazy water, instead of storing theirs?
Yeah. Well, in terms of
crazy water.
That's it's a parable, it's a story.
Right.
So I'll post it for our notes. It's a great story.
In the notes. I think that once, so maybe 2 years before I actually became vegan, I was a vegetarian, and I had a big surgery that I was going through, and my doctor said, I won't do the surgery on you unless you eat chicken every day.
Oh my gosh.
What? And this is a doctor who had such a kind of specific issue that there was really just a handful of doctors who could do the surgery. So it's not like I had a plate full of doctors that I could pick from.
Right.
And at the time, it was really hard for me, and I shared this with, I do a lot of writing and sharing on social media, and I shared what was going on, and I was going to eat the meat. I was going to do that because I needed the surgery, and I really got, kind of rolled over by a lot of vegans who are like, just admit that you like the taste of flesh.
Yeah, that's a little
and I was like, and it really hurt me, but at the same time, that their message did stick with me. But it took a couple years, and it really took doing that work on my thesis to actually push me over the edge and go, oh my God. And now I can look back on that conversation and see that, yeah, they were probably right, but you have that sort of, it's very hard when we're talking about shame, it's very hard when people are leading with their shame and telling you how wrong you are. But it doesn't necessarily mean that message didn't leave me, because it certainly did. It stayed with me.
Yeah, I think about it. It goes back to the tribal mentality of, if you want to share you want to show the truth about yourself, what's going on, and you want people to accept it. When someone doesn't, almost like people who don't stick harder than the ones who do. It's like, oh, well, if you need help, let me know. I'm glad there for you. Like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you sticks heavier and harder and holds you down more than the let me know if anything holds you up even more. And that's a problem. That thing a lot of people get. They get those negative voices in their head. They just weighs them down a lot more than the positive ones bring them up.
We're programmed to listen to the negative because that's our internal dialogue. I think for the most part, you're your worst critic.
For sure.
I mean, I am my worst enemy. Me and my brain, we have to have conversations sometimes about, okay, stop. And I think it gets worse when you open yourself up, when you start seeing when you become plant-based, when you start looking into what are the ramifications of what I do. Do we really need this? How am I going to deliver this message? I actually talk about the stages of veganism. I mean, we all go through it. You go through an angry phase. You go through the activist phase. You go through the apathetic phase. There's I think one woman came up with 27 phases. I got it down to 6. Right,
exhausted.
Right, because I was like,
getting so exhausted.
6, we got it. But then you could, the very end. It's like you come to the point where it's kind of like you're okay with it, but then a whole new battle begins.
Yeah,
and it's on to the next thing, and having to rewire those conversations, which is uncomfortable. And then as you're trying to do this, you're trying to get this message out, and I think people pick up on almost the entropy that you have with the words in your head that's going on. Have you found that with yourself and people that you've talked to?
I think people are, I think I've been pretty open about sharing, my journey with people. And what has been interesting is that when I share like food and positive, like things that are positive as opposed to like information that's particularly heavy, I don't get a lot of play. But if I share what brings me joy and what brings me happiness and like the food that I'm cooking, or, I think people obviously respond to that better, they just do. And so there's something to be said for the weighty, hitting people over the head messages. They do stick, and there's a place for them. And then there's a place for sharing in the joy and sharing, I make a pie for my wife and sharing that on Facebook. Like, people, you can make vegan pie. Like, people don't even know like that's even a possibility. Yeah. So I think people do take that ride with you, and as I've taken the ride with other people, and we're all sort of walking each other home, as the saying goes. And so I just really try to stay engaged in that process. I don't try to like have any strong belief systems, in either way that would cut me off from anybody. I'm really resistant to anything that would separate me from other people. So that has led me naturally to sharing my joy more than sharing my big hammers.
That's so, even with me, it's so hard to, because I'm very much, I get tired very easy. I guess it's because of what I do. Yeah. But to not separate myself from people. Yeah. And there's a lot of times I do have to take breaks. And I get tired, I think, of the argument, even though I know sometimes the argument is warranted. There was one, not too long, she's a very famous YouTuber, and got a little bit of a heated discussion about Earthlings. I don't always recommend Earthlings. Sometimes I do, because like I said, sometimes you just need to know. Right. I've never watched it. I got through 15 minutes of it, and
you got further than I did.
Mentally, because I felt my whole self being brought down because I know what goes on. Yeah. And the argument was, you're not a real vegan unless you watch these things, because you should watch them and be reminded why you're a vegan. Oh yeah. And I told her, I said, okay, there is a place for that. And I think it's just like the stages. There's people in different stages, but I'm at the point where I can't, because if I do that, I feel like when you put yourself into that space, when you know what you're doing and you're trying to do better, as Dr. Iselson told me, if you keep revisiting that chapter, you can't move forward. Right. Well, and I got to that space. It brought me down so much that I couldn't move forward. And I noticed when I did that and I focused on those videos and those things, I was so negative, and what I put out was negative, and I cut people off. So he's like, well, if you're not going to do that, I don't want to talk to you. Kind of thing.
Well, the thing about it is, you got to think, when we were all dirty meat eaters, you were essentially contributing to an abusive relationship. Yeah. So revisiting that puts you back in mentality. It's an abusive relationship. So if you were actually in an abusive relationship, whether you were on being the abuser or the abusee, and you leave that relationship and you look at photos from there or anything like that, or videos, or listen to phone calls, that's going to put you back at that mentality, which either gets you sad again, upset, angry, anything like that. So, because that's how the mind works. So you see something, you experience something, whether or not you're actually doing it, your brain produces the same chemicals and reacts the same way. So you put yourself back in that previous mentality where you're still back at being angry and sad and frustrated and that you used to be. That's why. That's why I can't watch it.
Yeah, and I think for me, being vegan is about connectivity. It is about my connection to the world.
Right.
And so if I'm suddenly, it's suddenly a lifestyle that I'm using to separate myself from people, it's kind of, it's kind of counterintuitive to do that. I want to live a life. Nonviolent eating to me is a way to practice compassion and kindness in the world, and that doesn't happen just with animals. That happens with people too.
Right.
And so that's kind of more of what I'm about. And I also think that people who say you need to keep watching those kinds of videos in order to maintain your veganism. So that's a very unsustainable type of veganism. It means that the reason you're a vegan is because of all these outside things that support your belief systems. And what has been my experience is that it has come up from my heart outwards. I'm affirming that I am connected to animals through every day through my eating. And it's a part of who I am. It's not something I believe. It's not something that I need to go around and tell everybody I'm a vegan, although I'm wearing a vegan necklace. I'm telling everybody
It's
that
a
I'm
really cool
vegan.
vegan necklace.
Right, but it's not like I need to go out because what is coming forward is something really authentic and genuine from my heart, and that is the kind of veganism that is unshakable. That's sustainable. I don't need to look at any videos to tell me that it's this is happening. I know it is, and I live that grief and I live that joy. I live all of it coming from my heart, and that is very sustainable.
And I think it shows because different people, they attract. I guess it's attract like, and you want to be attracted to the people that are loving and kind and have gotten to that place. So that we met you at the Asheville Veg Fest. We didn't know you at all.
Yeah, but it was like.
Yeah, and I just turned around and there you were.
I think we touched each other for a good 10 minutes. Just
where's the camera? Where's the camera?
And but your energy was so much different from everybody in that whole place. And because I was telling him, said we need to talk to her. We absolutely have to talk to her because there's something to that. And I noticed when I'm looking at you as you were walking around, people would always look at you, and it was a different vibe. So I think. That's where we need to, not everybody's going to be there. Right. I'm not there yet. I'm still working on it. Vegan. But I think that's what we need to get to, is to where you get to the point to where you're starting to attract the better in people and right now I feel like a lot of the world is geared towards, especially with the internet, social media, the bad. Yeah. And it's putting so much out there, and that's drawing people in to where we need to shift that. And have, I guess, they call it light bringers. And I know a lot of people scoff at it, but it makes perfect sense. It's the people that can talk in the way that you do and how we are starting to shift. Not everybody's shifting, but maybe that 10% tipping point is going to happen.
I'm for the 10%.
What, the U.S. is 3% or plant-based.
It's growing.
Right, so we're getting there.
Yeah.
Even
doubled in less than a year.
They just put out a thing at Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks. Yeah, I know they're making buck, but they're putting out more plant-based options because demand is higher.
There's never been a better time to be a vegan. I mean, we're so spoiled.
Starbucks is actually going to add almond milk as an option now too. Yeah.
Their own blend of almond milk.
Yeah.
It's like
hopefully it's not a chemical blend of almond
milk.
But
like the
still,
coconut milk was.
It's better than cow's milk.
Oh hey.
So
for sure.
It's shifting. It's shifting that dialogue, and that's what I was trying to convey to this girl. It's like, I understand your point of view, and it's necessary in a certain phase. There comes to a point to where we have to say, okay, I understand this, and I've seen it, and I've gotten that, and I've moved past it. That this is not this. I have to close this chapter, and what's going to be my next chapter? Okay, well, it may be that I'm going through the activism. It could be that I'm going through an internal struggle, or it could be like with me going off on health. Some people go off with the animals, like Renee. Some people go off with the environmental. So you have all these people, and if we stay so focused on that one thing and we stay so angry, that's all we're going to keep attracting, just like that. Or if we go off on our separate ways and we do the things that we're meant to do, you attract like you attract what you need to.
I want to talk about that. I want to talk about like, how do we change that chapter? How do we close that chapter? And is there a
Oh, I wish there was an easy.
Well, it is changing. It
right,
is.
and
It is happening.
if there's somebody, I'm sure there's somebody listening right now who has a chapter they're trying to close. They don't know that process, or where do they go next to turn that one last page? What is?
It's not even turning the page; it's just shutting that damn book.
Right.
And putting
Yeah.
it
But how do you shut that book? I mean, not necessarily there's a 1, 2, 3 process, but where do you guide yourself?
What have you found? I know you've done a lot of studies in this. What would you suggest if somebody said, "Hey, Jen, I'm stuck on this, and I'm stuck on watching all this, and I'm stuck on feeling sad and doing
This chapter won't
Yeah,
close.
well,
This book won't close.
my go-to, and it's just because this is my experience, so I can really, it's kind of like my specialty, my thing that I do, but self-inquiry is where it's at. And what I mean by self-inquiry is literally laying down and watching your thoughts and becoming deeply aware of what's happening in your mind. And so a lot of times we've got so many thoughts going on in our head, and especially negative ones, that our reaction is immediately to draw back and go the other and say, oh, stupid thoughts. God, what is it? The same thought. What is it? Why do I keep eating that hamburger? Gosh darn it. All these things. And so self-inquiry is literally moving into that discomfort, moving into the thoughts in your mind, and like a scientist, becoming an investigator of your own psyche. And so so this is called autognosis. It's a self-knowing, knowing yourself.
Okay,
right? Autognosis, right?
Yeah.
So we're literally becoming our own best therapist, our own best guide, our own. We're relying on the wisdom of the inner guru. And I think everybody has an inner guru. I think everybody has a little voice inside of you that knows. And like, my inner guru is kind of an ass kicker. I mean, it's really like, my inner guru lets me get away with nothing, and I really trust that. So my advice is to really open the doors to yourself, to your psyche, to who you think you are, to what you've been taught about food, to what you've been taught about yourself, and go inside and even if it scares you, yes, go forward. If it terrifies you, that's where you need to go. If it feels uncomfortable, go there. And hopefully you have people in your life, or you can connect with me and Friends in Presence, or somebody who can just, not try to fix anything about your journey, but just be there with you and say, yep, you're totally falling apart and it's okay. So I'm kind of like that weird person that's leading people to the fire of their mind and saying, come on, I got a little tinder. If you want to, go there and burn with me, I want to burn, because what I know and what I have experienced is going from someone who was really deeply disturbed and sick in my own mind to someone who has a very positive, healthy relationship with my psyche and my body, which that's kind of the second. And once you get right in your psyche, then you start to get right in your body, which is where so I know that there is liberation on the other side of all of that deep trauma, that deep pain, that deep looking. I know that there is freedom, not that is anything that you have to discover, but freedom that is what you already are.
Right.
You don't, it's not like you become something in this self-inquiry. You literally are stripping away the layers like an onion, and you're going, oh my God, that's what I look like naked. That is what I look like. That's what I look like without all those beliefs. That's what I look like without that voice inside. Oh, so it's a wonder to behold yourself naked in your own self for the first time. Like, wow, I'm cool. I'm gentle. I'm sensitive. I'm aware. I'm in touch with animals. I'm in touch with other people. Wow, and it's scary and wonderful. And that's what we're encouraging, is a deep inner looking that leads you into that interconnectivity with animals and people.
And that inner looking, for someone like that, who's making that change, I think it's important. And I don't know if this is true or not. That's different for different people. So for some people, that's sitting in a field and quiet. Yes. Some people, that's in a dark room. Some, it's writing down pros and cons lists and looking at those, or going and finding
lots of cathartic behavior.
Right, finding that Zen spot. That part you can
right.
look inside yourself where everything else gets blocked out.
That's exactly right.
Part.
And what I love is you say it's okay to be broken and a mess.
Yes.
What I see today is everybody wants to be fixed. Well, you've got this wrong with you. Take this pill because you're broken. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're feeling sad. You're broken. That's not. It's let's look at it as negative instead of positive. That's one thing I'm understanding about myself. Is it is okay, because he tells me all the time it's okay to be like this. I wake up I said, I'm so sorry I'm like this. He goes, no. You're fine. You need to go through this. I have a friend. She's going through a separation. And she's a wonderful, bright, beautiful woman, smart. I admire her. I feel her pain. And it breaks my heart, but it's on one hand, she's got to go through this because I know she's going to be okay, even though she doesn't know.
Yeah.
Everybody's on there trying to heal her and say, oh, well, think positive, be positive. And I told her, no. It's okay. Be mad. Be angry. Grieve. Go through what you need. You don't have to be okay right now. I told her that you don't have to be okay right now.
Yeah.
Don't be okay. Do what you got to do. Go do something that is, or even if it's just going to get a bottle of wine and some chocolate and a movie that you love, do that.
Yeah.
And there's so much resistance to saying it's okay to be broken. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be a mess. It's okay to be in the floor crying.
It's super liberating just to say, oh my God, I'm such a mess.
Right?
It's so okay. And if you've your whole life have been trying to put patches on your mind to fix things as you go, it's a very liberating thing to say, oh my God, I am a mess, and that's okay, and I'm never going to be perfect, and and that's okay, and it's also what happens is when you recognize the mess in yourself and you begin to love that mess, then you begin to love the mess in other people too. And that is really meeting people in a whole nother place, because
you're connected with them.
Yeah, because we can be a mess together. We can call each other and go, oh my God, literally I can't get out of bed today. I'm not putting on clothes.
There's no pants today.
Just said no
that's
pants
5 days
today.
a week, but
Right, no pants today, and that's okay, but it doesn't mean any complacency.
Right.
So I'm a fire burner. Believe me, this is not work, meaning that you just go inside yourself and say, now I'm perfect and I'm now spiritually bypassing all my problems.
Right.
That's not it either. It's really, it's being okay with yourself, moving into your mess, but then also challenging it. And so there's this sort of flow that comes, and that's when the inner guru comes out and will kick your ass when you get really complacent.
Somebody sent me, it was a meme, it says, namaste, the mess in me recognizes the mess in you.
So that would be the title of this.
Namaste.
Namaste. Yes, the mess in me recognizes the mess in you.
And I think, too, with kids, we're seeing a problem, and it's probably, I'm sorry, I'll let you talk.
No, it's fine.
We're getting excited.
No,
but because kids are going to be open to wanting to help animals. We're seeing this. Kids are bright and they're smart. But we're spending too much time trying to fix the creative children. Creative children are wild. They're messy. They don't fit in. Matt, an artist, he was the oddball but oddball in a good way is what I was drawn to him about. Dave is a mess in his own way. That's right. I think that we're too much alike, and that's one of the things we were attracted to. But now it seems like our society wants to kind of cull that and go, that's not right. You're not fitting into this little box. So let me give you this medication. Let me shame you in this.
Yeah. And see, I think that's actually why we're all superheroes. Because all of us who have been a mess throughout our whole life, wow, do we hold... I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah.
I have a box in my trunk of stuff when I was little.
I'm a card-carrying mess, yeah. So I think that... So it's called positive disintegration. So Joanna Macy talks a lot about this, and she talks about systems theory. So if you look at a system, a healthy system, what happens in a healthy system is a tremendous amount of breakdown in order for that system to come back into stasis, into some sort of normalcy. And that's how healthy systems operate. So if we look at ourselves as systems, then you would naturally start to see this breakdown, this breaking down, and then coming back into. So I think we're actually, all of us who've been told our whole lives that we've been a mess, all of us who've been told that we're with the weird kids, the traumatized children, all of us, we're actually like quiet superheroes that can literally flip ourselves inside out and become like real wow, because we can take that energy of trauma and we can use it. So I kind of feel bad for the people who've gone through life unscathed. I don't really kind of like relate to them. It's really hard. Like my wife is like the most normal person I know. And I'm like, God, you're so normal. Like no like childhood trauma, no nothing. But I really quietly, when I meet somebody who's got a lot of problems, I immediately start feeling into where, oh, you're a superhero too. I know. So whether that they've awakened to it or not, I know that latent there is a tremendous amount of potential and possibility if it's just scratched, and if we can become brave enough to start to walk into it. Wow, you can transform the world with the kids who were a mess.
Oh yeah, well I was literally in special classes when I was little.
There you
go. I was pulled out like in the early mornings to go in the homeroom, and like elementary school, middle school, and not high school, oddly enough. Which I probably should have been in high school. But I was actually pulled in the class where you have to talk about your feelings and what happened. And I'm like, I'm literally in the classroom with people who helped their parents like literally do heroin that morning.
Yeah.
Literally. I'm like, I just want to draw weird pictures, write poetry, and be left alone. Why am I in here?
No.
What happened to you? I'm like, nothing. I got a pretty normal
I was
life.
born this way.
What did I do? I was like it was like we had like a little talking toy where it's like he was like, well, you know it's like you pull the sticks together and they would flip.
Yeah.
And then you held that to so you could when you talked, right? And it was like an elementary school. And I would talk just so I could have the toy to play with it. I didn't have anything really to say.
Yeah.
'Cause I had no idea why I was there. To this day, I still have no idea. My parents didn't even know I was in those classes. No idea I was there.
Because you're special.
Something, apparently. Like, why am I with... Okay. Why am I filling out books about my feelings? I just want to go back and play with G.I. Joe.
But honestly, if I was putting my money on who the change makers are in the world... It's those of us who, and I think part of it is that those of us who've had a lot of trauma as children, which I had a tremendous amount of trauma as a child, we have a capacity to hold a lot inside of us, and that capacity to hold a lot is really helpful if you're deciding, if you're going, well, you don't really decide to wake up, it kind of just happens to you whether you like it or not, but it's because you've had these energetic traumas that you then can hold it and hold the transformation of waking up into you. So I think the people who are changing the world are those of us who've been on the outskirts, on the outsides, the outliers. And that to me is very inspiring. I feel like we're like a little weird tribe.
Oh, yeah. We use that now generally in technology and social and stuff like that. Most of our things that have moved forward, whether or not would it be with technology or with new energies, things like that, were made by the outsiders. And that was like in the Apple's whole like their whole
think differently.
Think different.
Think different.
Like this is to the outsiders, the unique thinkers. That's the whole mentality.
And on what you were saying about the ones that have been scarred, it's something somebody sent me because I had a bad day. It was a quote by Henry Rollins, whom I love, said, "Remember that scar tissue heals stronger, so use that shit."
Yes.
And it made me think about I wake up and I hear things that somebody else has gone through. I'm like, my life was not that bad. But then I think what I've had to learn is say, I don't need to compare my damage to somebody else's damage. I have my own damage to deal with, but my damage is mine to tell my own story, and I need to start using that because I'm made of scars, but I'm tough as hell because I survived this. Yeah. What I went through with the family thing and my mom's death, I made it through partly because I had support and love, but because I'm tougher than nails, and I knew I could. But then with that too, I'm having to learn to soften up a little bit and let that scar tissue, release a little bit. But it did make me tough. Yeah. But it's made me realize that I haven't had it that bad. It doesn't mean that it's not bad for me, but I don't need to judge other people, and maybe giving my strength to people that have been through absolute hell is part of the gift.
Well, you and I talked about that not too long ago about with 1 being perfectly fine and 10 being hell's falling on you and everything's falling apart. You can't compare your 10 to another person's 10. And we get that online I had a terrible day. Well, people in other countries are starving to death. It's not fair. It's because one person has a 10 and this person has a 10 doesn't degrade the other one's struggle and troubles. So it's recognizing, I've had a problem. My experience may have been better or worse than someone else's, but we're both going through a hard time, regardless of what level that 10 actually is.
I have a theory that everybody is messed up. I mean, I just really think so. Even like my wife, who's like super normal. I think that because if what we're looking at is the psyche and your relationship to your mind, I would say a good 97% of people in the world don't have any conscious awareness of their own mind. So even the most normal people are still going around in kind of a schizophrenic way with thoughts in their mind all day long with this moving dialogue that is super unhealthy. So even the most normal people are still all day long, thoughts churning, believing those thoughts are who I am, believing those thoughts are me. And that to me is kind of the definition of insanity. Yeah. It really is. And insanity for me has been waking up to, oh my God, those thoughts are not me. Oh my God. I remember how powerful it was for me. This was before my awakening, just to hear the words, don't believe everything you think. Like that. It was like a weight. It was like a slap in the face. Like, are you serious? I don't have to believe the thoughts in my head? Like how do you not believe the thoughts in your head? How are those thoughts not me? It was a radical shift, just that one little thing.
What about the voices? Shall I leave them?
Yes. Well, I've learned to make friends with those voices. Make friends with them right away.
What's funny, because I work here alone, so the cats are the only one that can test to this. I've learned to do one thing, because I have like I said, my brain is my biggest enemy. I'll be sitting there and they start creeping up. I literally go, shut the fuck up right now. I don't need this, and this is not what I need to do. I've got this to do right now.
Yeah.
And most people, if you told a therapist something, they go, okay, that's not right. But I'm going, but why is that not right? But
everybody's doing it. Everybody's walking around. If you watch, one of my favorite things to do is to, like, if Iris will go into the store and I'll be in the parking lot and I'll just watch people. But if you watch people come out of a grocery store just randomly, you will see them wording the dialogue in their head on their lips, and they are alone. And most humans are literally walking the planet, engaging with the thoughts in their mind, really not present.
Well, that's why
really
phones are so good.
Yeah.
Like, really not like enjoying, not looking up and seeing there's a bird there, not really ever being totally present in the moment, because they're so engrossed in the thoughts in the head. So I think that normal people are probably just a click crazier than we imagine they are.
I think it's an illusion, because I think everybody goes through what we go through in different levels.
Yes,
but
for sure.
I think the ones that or like I said, are waking up or awakened, we acknowledge that. We see that it's not crazy. It's this is what we do to process, because we're something in a flesh bag on a rock hurling through space.
And the brain is a thought machine. That's what it's supposed to do.
And I think that's one of the problems, is we're so disengaged. Like, okay, I'm glad for Pokemon Go. It's gotten people out. We see people in the park walking that you would never see there.
Right.
But they're like this. And the world's, because it's like, I'm so uncomfortable with this voice, these processes that I have to, and I'm guilty
Tune
of
it out.
There's sometimes there's days I'm like, you know what? I'm just on Facebook day. I am not putting on pants.
That's my whole job.
Yeah, I'm not.
That's what I do daily.
I am not putting on pants, and I may or may not eat lunch. I'm going to sit here with my cats and I'll play it. But sometimes I need that, and I recognize that. But I think we've gotten too engaged into that to where we don't want to listen to this. So we found a way to
numb everything out. Yeah, technology in modern life does not do anything really good for tuning all that. It encourages you to numb out what's actually happening in your experience, because you have so much input coming in.
We could do so good with it, but it's kind of turned into Frankenstein's monster. It's something that could have been, and it still is. It connects us. And we've, like, for instance, Tracy, we have somebody in the UK that we talk with, and she's amazing, and I love talking about her. I would have never known her except through Facebook.
Yeah.
But then I think it takes on a whole, and I am, like I said, I am the guiltiest person of it, because it's easy when you're like, I just don't feel like this today, or you wake up in the morning and you and it's feeding your ego too.
Yeah. I think technology is generally not the problem. Technology is sort of the problem is not technology. The problem is your relationship to technology.
Right.
So technology itself is kind of a neutral thing. It's a tool. It's a tool, right? So the problem is always your relationship to it. So you can do really amazing. Obviously, we're sitting here doing amazing things with technology, right? So we thank it. We're not going to be like Luddites and be like, technology is bad. I love Friends and Presents. I literally connect with people from around the world. As a disabled person, sitting in my pajamas when I'm having a chronic pain day, and I'm reaching out to somebody in like London, and we're talking about doing self-inquiry, that is powerful technology. But if it becomes something that is all-consuming, where you're just using it as a mind-numbing tool so that you don't ever have to deal with the present moment, then that's something to be looked at.
Yeah. So they're going. Dave is a complete tech lover. So
that it was funny. How I was thinking that, like, you think even like waking up can put you to a whole new level of kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Because, like, you're talking about, people don't notice the birds, and then when you kind of wake up, you start looking at the birds and going, and even me, I start like analyzing the flight and how does it work and how do the birds work, and it's just a molecule and how its brains work. I'm like, I just want to look at a bird at this point. Why can't you look at a bird? So,
Bird.
It's kind of like you and feet. Like, why do we have feet? What is a bird? Why is a bird? How's a bird fly? I don't want to look at a bird.
That was the weirdest moment, and I told him when I woke up, I'd never had anything like that. And I woke up. I woke up 15 minutes before the alarm went off, and I felt it was for the first time I felt like I was actually in this body, and then I felt claustrophobic because I realized, holy crap, this is who I am. This is me. I started looking, feet are weird. Why am I breathing? Holy crap. So I went through this like 15 minutes of process, and I just turned it off, and I had to take a minute to breathe because it was so much anxiety of
being in your own skin.
Yeah, and then not wanting to be there, thinking this can't be all I am.
Right. Yeah.
This can't be the story. This can't be all I've accomplished in this flesh bag. And I started thinking, why am I flesh bag? Why am I stuck in this?
Like I said, you basically described me for the past like 3 years.
But yeah, it's weird. And you know, when you talk creative people, I'm like Matt's like, yeah, that's what drives my creativity. You know, and it's what I've started understanding about the tarot is it's not so much that there's a spirit guiding the cards. It's self-inquiry. It's like if you want an answer to a question, flip quarter, because you'll already know what it is before it lands.
Yeah.
It's about looking and talking through these processes because you already know what you are, what you want, and where you're going to a point. Our mind is so much far ahead of us, but we're so stunted that we can't see it. So we need these tools in place.
Yeah.
But we've forgotten them, or those tools are seen as wacky, or you don't want to use them. They scare you. And, you know, science is great, but a lot of science is ignoring a lot of this aspect of it.
For sure.
And when you wake up to that, it's the weirdest freaking trip that I have ever been on.
Well, that's all being part of the paradigm shift, right? So we're going from the world of science and knowledge and certainty to a new paradigm, which is about, you know, postmodernism is about uncertainty. Not yes or no, but yes and of not knowing really who I am. I mean, if you would have told me that liberation would mean I don't know who I am, that did frighten me so much. It frightened me to think that I was not even a person, that I'm not who I think I am. Who am I then? You know, and truly my happiness today comes from my capacity to say, yep, I have no idea who I am. I have no idea where I'm going, and that's okay. I'm totally comfortable with being uncertain, and that's the paradigm shift.
Well, I don't know this for most people is a not knowing is what's scary. That's where you get a lot of like political ideologies, religious ideologies, because it answers that question, and that again goes back to evolution, because not knowing way back when meant death. Is that thing in the grass a squirrel or a tiger? Right. So you had to make a guess, but we're in a point now where not knowing is okay, but we still have that caveman mentality where not knowing is not okay. And so it's breaking past that.
That's why so many people embrace religion, and that was one of the epiphanies I had watching my mother die, is going through. I've sat there and wondered, like, I know that she was kept in a coma, and I knew, me being the health person, I knew the body process. I knew. I wish I didn't. I knew exactly what was going on in this dying process, and she died for 3 weeks. But sitting there wondering, what was she thinking? What was she seeing? How was she responding to this? Like, I had her nephew call. He's a singer. My cousin came. I said, I know we can't be here. Can he sing Amazing Grace? Because she always loved, for some reason, him sing that. My dad was so against it. They no, don't get her excited. I said, no. So she got the phone. I put it to her ear, and Neil started singing. And you watched something that had not fluxed change. So you knew something was going on, but I'm going, what is she thinking? Yeah. And I'm wondering all this, and it's upsetting to lose your mother. It's horrible, but after a while I felt bad because I'm in the wonderment of her death, as bad as that seems. And then you have the religious people coming in. My dad's highly religious, saying, why don't you turn to God? You're going to get your mother. Even had a preacher there saying, you'll never see Pam again. It was all directed towards me. But I'm thinking, but I'm lost in this, and this helped me of, she had this time here. She's dying. What is she going through now? Yeah. What is this process? And it's almost like you should sit there and celebrate them and work through this. I wasn't able to do that. And you look at the people like my dad and the people coming in that were highly religious. They were so angry. They knew absolutes, like, this is what's going to happen, this is this. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen to her. Yeah. And it's upsetting, but again, with me, I'm going, I don't know what happens with this. And I think that her death was a process that sparked something in me to make me go, look at this, I'm in wonder of this. I'm sad I'm losing my mom.
What a beautiful gift that she gave you. I mean, when you say that, I'm just overwhelmed with that. This is really one of the most poignant last gifts that she ever gave you, was an openness to wonder and uncertainty that comes with dying. I mean, that's like, you know, she probably couldn't have planned it out. I mean, she held you as a baby in the birth and said, well, all the things that I'm going to give you, I bet she didn't think she would give you that. And how magical and amazing. And that lives in you now. And that is something that is alive in you, that curiosity and willingness to go into the dark, which is all very important for self-inquiry and waking up, is that willingness to go into the dark. And she's the one guiding you, and that's beautiful.
And I felt so bad because the people that loved her could not experience that. They were so absorbed in sadness and fighting amongst themselves and anger, and they didn't do this and this person did this, and you know, I'm having to battle all this, and in my mind I'm going through that process. And I realized it's scary, and I'm still going through it, but I can understand why they cling on to certain ideology. I can't even speak this morning. Certain belief systems, certain things that say, this is what happens, this is certain, this is how you're going to be. And that's with everything, your lifestyle, what you eat, what you believe, how you behave, what you buy. You're ingrained in that. And when you start looking in yourself and you look at things differently, and when you experience what I experienced, and it's something like a jolt that everything is different, and it's terrifying, and you don't... I can see why people are like, no, I'm just going to go and...
Tune it out.
I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to go and party. I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to go buy all this. But with me, it started a process, and it's terrifying. So I can understand, and that's helped me understand why people are like, I don't want to be vegan. I like my this too much. I like that too much. Or I don't want to do this because I like this. I can understand why, because it is scary.
Well, there's a relationship between your beliefs and your sense of self.
Right.
Your beliefs are deeply connected to who you think you are. That's why you have those beliefs, because this belief is who I am. And if you start to deconstruct those beliefs, and you're left with, oh my God, I have no idea who I am. That is like the most, not only is the most inwardly terrifying thing, but in our culture, it is, you never want to not know who you are. Mm-hmm. Like everything about our culture says you better know who you are. You better know what you're about. What do you stand for? What do you believe? If you don't believe in something, you'll fall for anything. You know, all that stuff. So this is really like, it's bizarre to tell people, go into not knowing who you are. Well, go into just deconstructing your beliefs.
That's the first thing you ask somebody when you meet them, is like, tell me about yourself. Tell me who you are. And it's the first thing you want to know about somebody. Like, that's the first we did.
What do you
Introduce
believe?
yourself. Who are you?
What do you believe, so I can connect with you, so I know who you are and what you know, what you're all about, so I can categorize you into a particular box.
Right.
And try to understand and get you and who you are.
And another level to what happened with my mom with the dying and wondering what is, then it made me think, as a vegan, it made me connect with the animals a little bit, is what goes through their mind. Because, you know, they show, I know it's horrible, and I'm sorry it's a little graphic, but if you watch the videos of the assembly line of the slaughter, you can see the point where after they've seen their kind killed horribly.
They can hear it, and they can smell it and everything else.
You can see the point where they accept it. Yeah. And it's one of the most, it's almost horrible, but you think, is that something have they gone into a different place? Is that a part, it fascinates me. To the point where I think that when you start looking at that, even if you're a media, when you get that and you see that happen, not that I'm saying everybody should watch that, but when you see that happen, that's going to start something that you go, there is a consciousness within us that is beyond what we can comprehend.
Well, that's a sentient being.
Yeah.
That being has a sense of itself, and we're literally stripping that sentience, the value of that sentience, away from those animals one at a time in an assembly line. And isn't that horrific?
And you hear things like that with what happened at Auschwitz and things like that people became, it wasn't complacent, but they became peaceful.
Their object, right.
It's like they went through the most horrible thing imaginable, and it, you know, when you read about this, especially Matt's life changed. You know, I gave him the Diary of Anne Frank, and that was one of his things that started him on his path.
Beautiful.
But when you start reading it, like I'm reading Viktor Frankl, and you read these stories and you see the transformation within the people and how their views changed, the survivors of it, and even the ones that didn't survive, their stories are so poignant. But it's like something happens to where the physical is not that important anymore.
There's transcendence. And
it's like I said, I'm in awe of it. I don't understand it, but it drew me closer to being vegan, to being plant-based, because I realized how much even our planet is alive.
Yeah.
And our planet is becoming complacent. Is it wanting to sleep? Is it seeing what's going on?
A lot of people say that the planet is in hospice. That's a sort of metaphor you hear right now, is that the planet is going through hospice, and that our job is to sort of nurture and care for it, because these feedback loops that are in place with peak oil and climate change and oil, soil erosion, and all of those things are to the point where we're not going to be able to change it. We're not going to be able to. The Earth is going down a bad path. It's in hospice, and so then is my job to try to bring it back to life, or is it literally just to bear witness to what we are doing to this Earth as a species? And I kind of sit in the middle. I'm bearing witness to what we're doing as a species, but I'm also not giving up. I'm not a nihilist. I don't believe that where it's too late that we can come back from. I think we can become, if I look at myself as you and you are me, then I have to believe that if I'm capable, if a misfit fuck up like me can wake up, then we can all wake up. Yeah. And I believe that. I hold it. I believe it. I'm talk about beliefs, but I'm a true believer. When if I can do it, then we can all do it.
Well, I didn't tell you about this. So a friend of my brother Taylor, he's a really sweet kid. He's got some stuff he's working through, but he's moving.
He's
up.
young.
He's young, and it shows. Yeah, it's perfectly fine. One of his buddies posted on his Facebook wall, he wants to go vegan, he's wheeling things down, and my little brother, who I think he still works at a bar. Basically, he's a cook at a barbecue place. So he pointed him towards me. He didn't take him down. I was like, oh man, you gotta eat the barbecue. He's like, hey, talk to my brother David. Now I've helped him, and then he joined some groups. We're helping him push him through, because you have someone who is, and this guy, he's an independent hip hop artist, things like that, and someone who you wouldn't expect is starting to make that awakening and make that shift and that change. And though granted it's slow, which is perfectly fine for him, but he's making that change, and you're seeing, even I went and looked at the post. Now that we're friends, I can see that post. And what I found interesting about that post is that traditionally, a couple years ago, you would see people's friends kind of ragging him and picking on him and things like that, especially being male, calling him a girl and stuff like that, because and you see the opposite. It's like, hey man, I couldn't do it. More power to you. Here it's healthier, and great. You're actually seeing a small awakening, even from a small group. But that's how things start. They start small, and they like a ripple in a pond. I guess we're not talking about that once. Throw that one stone in, it's a little drop, but it starts rippling further and further out.
That's exactly right. And isn't that cool that that's happening? I see it more and more. I see it all the time. I'll constantly shopping in the store, and I'll be in the vegan section. I'll be in the vegan section, and there'll be somebody there, and we'll strike up a conversation, and then we're talking about things we like, and things that we've tried that and that was terrible, or whatever. But more and more, you're seeing people waking up, and it is part of this sort of overarching waking up to a larger sense of self that includes each other, that includes animals, and that includes the living planet.
Segueing back to what you're saying about the Earth is in hospice, I kind of think something differently. I don't think she's in hospice because we've gone through mass extinctions.
Yes.
I think what she's done is she's going, I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to let you guys introspect into yourself, because there's this quirky little this little cartoon drawn. It's Mother Earth, and and there's a little boy, it's a man saying, "I'm sorry for what we're doing. We're killing you." She goes, "Oh, sweetheart, you're not killing me." And she goes through all the things. She goes, "But you're fucked."
Yeah, I'm gonna be fine.
Yeah,
the Earth will be here. I mean, the oceans will glow green, and nothing else will live here. But the Earth will still be going around the sun.
Yeah, that's right. The Earth is very sustainable. It will sustain itself whether we have whether humans are here or not.
Yeah. So she's saying it's almost like we're going, okay, and I think this is why we're seeing so many people waking up, or at least starting to open their eyes to it, while we're seeing emergence of veganism and eco-salvation and people trying to help the animals, is because we're not getting that constant nurture from them, and so we're cut off. And a lot of people that are cut off, they freak out and they go towards something else. But the ones that are like, okay, so we need to listen to ourselves. We got ourselves into this. So either there's two paths. We're either fucked, or we either fix it.
And we wake up.
Yeah. So I know it's Dave 20 at the time, because I know.
Oh yeah, that's because you had to leave around 3, I believe, something like that. Correct?
Yeah.
We're getting on the edge, so I want to make
sure. I love it.
So you will come back, right? Because you live right around the corner.
I feel like we just had our whole awakening experience. Like we're all super enlightened right now. This table is levitating, literally.
And we have cinnamon rolls. She brought us cinnamon rolls, which
Absolutely.
were fantastic.
If I love you, I bring you cinnamon rolls.
Oh, yay. You missed Dave and Matt dancing because they said they were having cinnamon rolls. I was doing a little jig there.
Yeah.
Cinnamon rolls.
I was doing the drunk giraffe.
Yeah, drunk draft.
But definitely, I think this is a conversation that we need to
Cool.
continue in part 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Let's keep doing it.
But you want to tell people how they can contact you, your website, in case they're like, she's talking to me, and I'm terrified and I don't know where to go. And of course, you can
How
always,
do I close this book? How do I change this chapter?
of
Yeah.
course, you can always reach out to me and Dave, and everybody knows how to get a hold of us.
Of course.
ChristianVegRadio.com. Go to contact and fill out the form. We'll be right back in touch with you.
And how can they get in contact with you?
I'm at friendsandpresence.com, and I have 2 books that are for free downloads there. Lots of information on my blog, and I'm also on Facebook at Friends and Presence, or you can send me a friend request at Jen Pierre Rich.
And we will put all those links
Yeah.
in the show notes.
Cool.
And don't hesitate to reach out to Jen because she's an amazing person.
Let's meet in the fire. Let's burn.
Right.
And
Let's burn up together.
And let you know, she will adopt you because she's already adopted me, so nobody else can claim me. So, but yeah, if you do feel like it, just understand it's okay to be lost.
Yeah.
And sometimes all who wander are not lost.
That's
So
exactly-
what
beat
you-
me to it.
Wow,
What-
that was
what-
sweet.
What you think is lost is actually where you need to be.
Finding, yeah.
Because you have to get off that path to really discover the wilds within
You have to get
yourself.
lost to find Nemo.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Oh, that was cute.
You're the little Nemo fish. I get it.
Namaste.
The mess in me
Honors the
mess
mess
in
in
you.
you.
That's great. So yeah, don't hesitate to reach out and ask questions and go be a mess. It's okay. Go have some chocolate. Go have some wine. Be a mess. Be happy. Be
That sounds like a
angry.
plan. Chocolate and wine, I think.
Chocolate and
That's
wine. Yeah.
chocolate and wine.
Proof there is divine
Chocolate and
beings.
wine.
There is chocolate and wine in this world, and cats,
And cats.
and cats,
And wiener dogs.
and wiener dogs. Yes. So we'll definitely have her back, and feel free to shoot us questions and contact her and get in touch.
Yay.
And so Dave, you want to take us out?
Bye, guys.